They drew water. Jesus said unto her, give me to drink. For his disciples were gone away unto the city to buy food, meat. From verse, his disciples prayed him, saying, Master, eat. Therefore said the disciples another, had any man brought him aught to eat? Jesus said unto them, my food is to do the will and to finish the work. Say ye not, there are yet 4 months, and then come that the work was calling his attention more than his physical need to eat food. He cancelled his vacation. He needed rest because of this work. In fact, Jesus gave his own life for the sake of this work. And because of his sacrifice towards this work, he was able to secure overwhelming results that the candidate of hellfire, but as beloved sons and daughters, those opportunities. Who will have believed that such massive revival will take place for a woman, through a woman that came to the well to fetch water? But Jesus cashed into that opportunity very, very weak, because of the work he had been involved, will not perish. Brothers and sisters, souls of men are highly valued in the sight of God. That if you can gather together all the worlds of this earth, put them together, one soul of his eyes, and the day this will happen, will become a day we will begin to live as we were created to live. A lot of Christians do exist because they are in the heart of the Father. They look and they spend their time on mundane things that perish with the use. Though they claim to be born again, but they still think and decisions, your vision, there is a question mark. A man who is born again cease to live and act like. When we become born again, that singular encounter will return us back to where originally we belong. It will return us back to begin to think like God. We came from God. We were existing in God before God brought us out. The day you were born was not the day you start existing. You starting himself right. We began to see things, began to think like God, act like God. You began to live exactly like God, because that is where what men pursue today is totally different from what Adam of old pursued when he was still the Adam that God created him to be. Man is a spirit, and the moment we become born again, we will return back to who we were. And from that moment, our desire and everything about us will change. Adam, before the fall, was only about his father's business until iniquity was found in him. And as such, if we belong to God through redemption, our taste must reflect whom we are. Any child of God that do not think about soul has a question mark over his profession. We must think about souls as we live our life. We must see the souls of men for who they are, else we may endanger our own lives. We may think we are galloping to heaven, but may be disappointed on the last day. John chapter 9 verse 4. I must walk the works of him that sent me, while it is day. The night cometh when no man can walk. Brothers and sisters, soul winning is a work committed into the hand of all born again Christians. That's why all born again Christians share one grace in common: grace of evangelism. All born again Christians share that grace in common. And we must see it as work committed unto us from God. God is the owner of this multinational soul winning business, and there is a lot of vacancy that exists in this great company, and God expected his own children to fill those vacancies. The angels of God wish this opportunity will be given unto them, but they were denied. The reason being, they did not know the joy of salvation because they never tasted it. Yes, they joined the host of heaven to rejoice when a soul is born again, but that is not enough for them to be enlisted among the armies that will carry out this assignment. Luke chapter 15 verse 10. Luke 15 verse 10. Likewise I say unto you, there is a joy in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner that repented. This is not enough. This joy that angels join the host of heaven to celebrate when a sinner is born again, it is not enough to qualify them into this noble task. If believers know the blessedness of winning a soul, they will never allow anything to hinder them from going about seeking for sinners wherever they will find them, so that they will create this joy in heaven. This is the assignment that angel wish it will be handed over to them, but heaven denied them the opportunity. They know what it takes, the blessedness of being involved in this noble work, but they were never permitted. They were never allowed. What would they tell a sinner? How would they convince a sinner? Which testimony would they share to a sinner? The greatest testimony in soul winning is your own personal experience. That is the greatest way to lead sinners unto the Lord. When you stand before sinners and you share unto them what this grace you are about to hand over to them can do in the life of man. Probably you were a prostitute before. Probably you were a drunkard before. Probably you were a smoker before. Probably you were one injurious fellow before. But all of a sudden, you have an encounter with this grace, and this grace beautify your life. This grace change you. This grace present and remolded you and make you who you are. When you stand before sinners, you may not know the verse or what chapter to quote. You just give them your own testimony. Most cases, it melts the heart of sinners unto salvation. But what will the angels, which testimony will they share? Jesus never died for the angels. Had he died for the angels, demons and Lucifer and the rest would have been born again long ago. But he never died for them. He died for men, the children that he created, that was stolen away from him by these criminals, demons, and devils. Therefore, we must cease causing heartache unto this God. We must always be about this great business. No other business on earth to be compared with this business. No other success on earth is to be compared with a success, the joy of success one enjoy on the field of evangelism. When you see sinners responding to salvation, when you see sinners giving their life unto Jesus, when you see sinners asking you with tears on their faces, what shall I do to be saved? There's no other joy when you see a notorious prostitute coming to the Savior, a drunkard breaking the bottles of alcohol, a smoker carrying the packet of cigarettes and throwing them away and lifting up their hands. in total surrender unto the Savior, to our Lord, unto Jesus Christ in salvation. Brothers and sisters, make yourself available. Go for souls. Write your application today. And make sure you submit the application today. See the work of soul winning for what it is. It is the work of the Father. And the Father handed it over unto us. And it's only the children of God that this work is committed unto it. A stranger to the commonwealth of the spiritual Israel is not qualified to do this work. Likewise, a stranger to the commonwealth of promise. If you don't have God, how will you give him to someone? If you have not tasted the joy of salvation, how will you give that to someone who also is in need of the joy of salvation? Men are dying each passing moment of the day. Souls are perishing. And Jesus is in so much concerned about the perishing of the souls of men and women that he came to this earth and suffered so much for. And he's asking us, carest not thou about this? One of our sisters from one of our churches out there in the state, we spoke last week, and she told me a story that the Lord took her into eternity, show her hell, burning hell, with a multitude of souls weeping and lamenting in that place. After that, he took her to heaven, and he saw how beautiful heaven is. Her own language to describe the beauty of heaven is that nothing on earth to compare with it. And the Lord was lamenting in that journey, telling her, this is not the place I made for my children. Look at their situation. And she looked and saw wailing, gnashing of teeth. Men like we. People created like we. The supposed image and likeness of God had eternally been separated from their source. And we must never allow people to get there. Brothers and sisters, Jesus came to save, and we must help by doing so. And in doing this, he offered his life on the cross as a sacrifice. Any soul that go to hell will remind Jesus the pains, the torture, the brutality that he went through in the hand of this power, demons and devils, in order to purchase man's salvation. Jesus does not wish any soul to go to hell. But I will say that believers are helping devil to push men and women into hell by their unconcerned attitude which they display toward soul winning. 2 Peter chapter 3. 2 Peter chapter 3. I read verse 9. The Lord is not slack concerning his promise, as some men count slackness, but is long suffering to us word, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. This is the mind of God. This is the wish of God. This is why he came to die for humanity on the cross. The day we believers see this work, the way Jesus saw it, and give all the needed attention that this work deserves, the way Jesus did it, is the day the souls of men and women will stop trooping to hell. Hell is not a pretty place. It is a condemned place for condemned, hardened criminals. It is a place of torture, and men and women are trooping there each passing moment of the day with the help of so-called believers. Listen to this. No man has what it takes to bear the torment of hell. No man. No man have what it takes to bear the torment of hell. Look at just a little of it. I want to show you chapter 14 of Revelation. Chapter 14 of Revelation. The same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture, to the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascended up forever and ever. And they have no rest, day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whoso receiveth the mark of his name. This is an everlasting home to all sinners who live this earth without salvation. Chapter 21 of the same Revelation, verse 8. Chapter 21, verse 8. But the fearful, and the unbelieving, and the abominable, and the murderers, and the whoremongers, and sorcerers, and idolaters, and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. Now come back to Isaiah chapter 5. Isaiah chapter 5. And see the pitiable condition of men and women who do not know Christ. When we understand this, it will enable us to launch out into the city, into the community, into the village. It will enable us to engage an individual one-on-one and to rescue them before it becomes late. Isaiah chapter 5, verse 14. Therefore, hell had enlarged herself and opened her mouth without measure, and their glory and their multitude and their pomp, and he that rejoiceth shall descend into it. Do you see what happens each moment of the day? Hell keep enlarging its coast to accommodate. Don't you see how sin multiply on our earth today? Each passing day there is an introduction of a new version of sin that you have not known before, and the world will give it needed attention. Don't you see this one they call BB Niger? That is another hellfire that is being accommodated by the society. Yesterday I stumbled into one thing they posted online. That is a blue film, a horror that's supposed not to be out, and this television channels are there showing it to the public, and people will go there. Tomorrow they will give them 15 million, one jeep, and the person will wear coats and begin to carry shoulder up in the society. A condemned and abominable fellow, a man that the society is supposed to reject everything about him, his money, people supposed to spit on him, is a condemned, abominable fellow. How can somebody live like that? And when he returns back after this rubbish, the community, the village, the society, we welcome him. Such a person, we must understand that the attention of heaven is on us, for we to save these dying people. Else, hellfire will keep each new sinner that die. Another enlargement has taken place at the lake of fire. Each new sinner that look at Mark chapter 9 and see why we needed to do something very urgent. Look at where people enter. Mark chapter 9 from verse 43. And if thy hand offend thee, cut it off. It is better for thee to enter into life maimed than having two hands to go into hell. This is what I want to pick there. Into the fire that never shall be quenched. This is Jesus. Into the fire that never shall be quenched. where their worm dieth not, and the fire is not quenched. If you read it down all through to verse 48, the same thing. Fire that never shall be quenched. Their worm shall never be quenched. Fire that never shall be quenched. Their worm. The worm he's talking about here is the nature of the body with which we will enter eternity. When someone dies, what actually happened is that we put off this body that was given unto us to access the planet Earth, and we then put on the body that eternity demand. Don't you see angelic beings? They have a nature of body that you can't grab them. They can pass through this glass. They can pass through the wall. That's the body. You see this beast when they come here. They come with the body. When sometimes we see who they are. They have body. That you had when you say you kill them and say we don't die. They can't die. When man die, no man ever die. What actually is that he put off this body. That's why at the point of death, what actually happens is that the body will lay on a bed if it's a sick person, and the real man will stand up. When he stand up, if the person is lying like this, he will stand up and sit, and he will come out. He will look at the body lying on the bed, exactly the same thing. The clothes that body is wearing is the clothes that spirit will wear at that moment. Exactly. If he passes you by, you will greet him, good morning, where are you going? It is when you go back, you will see that the body is lying there. That one you just met at the door is the spirit. That body is what Jesus called worm that never shall die. Man is an eternal being, never created to die. These are the knowledge we all needed in order to pull us out, to go and pull souls out from hell. Brothers and sisters, all of us here are guilty. All of us here are guilty. We need to shake off that guilt from us. How many sinners you pass by that died after that encounter? You never heard of them again. The next news you're going to hear, you're seeing the obituary posters on the streets. How do you adjust yourself when you hear such a story? That a person you just saw yesterday, you are seeing the person no more. Brothers and sisters, we must all stand up to go and do this work. Brothers and sisters, hellfire is a horrible place. Do all you can to stop that soul from going there. Jesus stopped Samaritan woman from descending there, and the same Samaritan woman stopped multitude from the city of Samaria from perishing in hell. Since you became born again, how many people have you taken along with you? In the city where you came from, are there no people there? In that community where you came from, are there no people there? Why would you want them to go to hell? Take seriously this work of soul winning. Always think about soul. That person you discuss with, if you don't do something very urgent, you may return back and hear that he is no more. Catch them before they die. Snatch someone from hell fire. Determine that from this moment henceforth you will no longer allow anyone that pass through you to go to hellfire. Close the gate of hellfire in that your community where you live. Likewise, in that marketplace where you sell, where you buy, where you trade. I do not know all those markets that were visited during our rescue mission, how many of us who are in those markets that still keep the fire of rescue mission burning in those places by retaining the prayer cell in that marketplace? How many of us that invite souls to be born again? To you, we have come, we are gone, everything over. No, sir. No, sir. We came in there, we opened the door for you. Keep building on that door. Brothers and sisters, we must never allow the dispensation of gospel to be required from our hands. Acts chapter 9. John chapter 9. John 9. I must walk the works of him that sent me while it is day. The night cometh when no man can walk. Paul saw this work of soul winning as the most noble work that ever existed on the planet Earth. And that was why he resigned his original work. We all know who he was. He was a trained lawyer who was brought up by one of the greatest jurists of his own time, Gamaliel. But at the moment he became born again, he threw chaff away and held on to the real thing. I wouldn't have known Paul had he not took such a radical decision for his master and Lord. Paul was not born a superman, neither was he born a great apostle, but his decision made him what he later became. Stop thinking about yourself. Think about the never dying souls of men and women. Stop thinking about time. Think always about eternity. They will take them into the old people home. That is where you will get to. You will see the vanity of this life. The CEO, the movers and shakers of the society, the prime ministers, the head of governments, the decision makers of this earth. When you get from sin, no other work on this earth have such power. No matter how good, no matter how attractive, no matter how lucrative any other work might seem to look like, it will only produce result that will satisfy the need of the body. But this is the only key to a fellow man. Sinners will never be born again. It is we delaying sinners. When criminality increase in the land, it is believers that cause it. Sure. Had we step out and do the needful, sinners that are now engaged themselves into criminality would have been born again long